Have you ever had one of those moments where you're so insulted it's almost impressive? That was me, standing in my workshop, covered in a bit of pipe grime, holding my phone, while my mother told me I was not invited to Christmas this year. No argument. No warning. Just, we think it's best if you sit this one out. At first, I thought she meant a date change. Like, oh, Christmas is on Tuesday this year instead of Sunday, maybe you didn't get the email. But no, she meant what she said. I was being actively excluded. Because, and I quote, it's about keeping things comfortable for everyone. I should probably rewind. I'm 32. Single. And I own a plumbing business in Glenmere. Not exactly Wall Street, I know. But I make solid money, run a legit team, and actually like what I do. There's a weird kind of satisfaction in solving problems with your hands, even when those problems are literal sewage. My younger sister, Melanie, 26, is currently in law school. And guess who's been footing the bill for her entire legal education? Yeah. Me. The embarrassing older brother who works with his hands. The reason this stung extra hard wasn't just because I was uninvited. It was why. See, I found out later, not from my mom, of course, but from my cousin Erin, who's messy and I love her for it, that Melanie had convinced my parents that I shouldn't be there. Because, according to her, having a plumber at Christmas might not sit well with her boyfriend, Dr. Connor Rothschild. Yes. That's his real name. Yes, he's that kind of doctor, the kind who drops his title at brunch and probably signs birthday cards. MD. Melanie was terrified that Connor and his high-profile family might get the wrong impression. As in, no, your brother unclogs toilets? How dreadful, darling. So, to protect her professional image, she scrubbed me out of the holiday. Let that marinate for a second. My sister, the one I've sent over $60,000 in tuition payments for, was embarrassed to have me at the dinner table. Because I fixed the pipes that keep her campus dorm from flooding. And the best part? My parents agreed with her. No one pushed back. No one said, hey, maybe we shouldn't exile the guy who pays for your degree. They just nodded along. Told me, you know how these professional circles are, Ronan. Maybe next year, when your career's more developed. More developed. I own my business. I have 3 vans on the road. I have 6 employees and a waitlist that stretches into next month. But sure, not developed enough to pass the cranberry sauce. That day, something shifted in me. I didn't yell. I didn't throw a tantrum. I just felt this eerie, ice-cold clarity settle in. Because the more I thought about it, the more the pattern snapped into focus. Melanie never invited me to her law school events. Never introduced me to Connor, even though they'd been dating for almost a year. She always dodged questions about what her brother did. Oh, he owns a business, she'd say vaguely. Not, he owns a plumbing company and he's killing it. Because deep down, she was ashamed of me. But not too ashamed to take my money. So I made a decision. If I wasn't good enough for her table, then my money sure as hell wasn't good enough for her tuition. Let's see how Fancy Craig handles that reality. There's a particular kind of anger that doesn't come with shouting. It's not loud. It's surgical. That's where I was. Not pacing. Not yelling. Just calculating. I went home that night, sat down with a whiskey, and pulled up every tuition receipt, every laptop reimbursement, every transfer I'd made to Melanie since she started law school. Have you ever wanted to feel both incredibly generous and completely played at the same time? Try adding up 3 years of someone else's dream. $64,500. That's what it came to. Not counting the brand new MacBook I bought her last year. Or the bar prep course she needed early, even though she still had a full year left. And I'd done it all without hesitation. Because that's what families are for, right? Except, funny thing, when I looked back over our messages, I noticed a pattern. Every text from Melanie? It was about money. Every single one. Not a birthday greeting. Not a, how's business going? Just, hey, do you mind covering this class fee? I need to order this textbook, can you transfer by Thursday? But when it came to acknowledging my existence in her pristine, professional world, radio silence. No. Bring your brother. To school mixers. No. Let's get a drink, you've done a lot for me. Nothing. I was her silent funder. Her invisible ATM in work boots. Erin, my cousin, bless her, again, sent me screenshots from the family group chat. Turns out this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Melanie had been laying the groundwork to erase me for weeks. She told our parents it would reflect poorly on her if Connor's family thought we weren't highly educated. And my plumbing business? Apparently, too low-tier for her new social class. That was the line that broke me. I just don't want Connor's family thinking we're unpolished. Unpolished. Meanwhile, I'd spent the last 5 years polishing her path through law school so she didn't have to work a single shift. That's when the plan came into focus. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to write some all-caps, rage-fueled family email. No. I was going to let the silence do the work. Melanie's next tuition installment was due in 2 weeks. $21,500, spring semester. She hadn't mentioned it yet, but I knew the signs. Around this time, she usually started getting chatty. Little reminders. Little guilt trips. But this time? Nothing. Guess she thought the payments would keep coming, even after she slammed the door in my face. What she didn't realize was that I still had full access to her tuition portal. She'd set me up with login credentials her first semester, back when I was the greatest big brother ever. So I logged in. Checked the balance. Still unpaid. And I sat there staring at it, not angry, just calm, and thought, you know what? Let's see how professional your boyfriend thinks you are when your card gets declined at the registrar's office. But first, I wanted her to hear it. From me. So I picked up the phone and called. No texts. No warning. She picked up on the third ring, already annoyed. Ronan? What's up? I'm in the middle of something. Of course she was. Hey, I said casually. Just wanted to check in about your tuition payment. That deadline's coming up, right? Suddenly, she was all sunshine. Oh yeah, thanks for remembering. It's due on the 15th. You're still good to cover it, right? I paused. Actually, I said, I've been thinking about what you told Mom and Dad about Christmas. About how having a plumber at the table might embarrass you. You could hear the silence on the line. Like her brain hit a wall and didn't know which way to turn. Wait, who told you that? Does it matter? I said. Is it true? Another pause. Then came the scramble. You don't get it. Connor's family they're just very particular. His dad's a judge. His mom's on charity boards. It's not personal. Not personal? I cut in. You uninvited me to Christmas because I fix pipes for a living. I've paid for over 60 grand of your law school, but that wasn't polished enough to sit next to your boyfriend. You promised to support me. She snapped, tone shifting. You said you believed in my future? Yeah, I said. When you were proud to call me your brother. And then I dropped it. If I'm too embarrassing for your table, Mel, then my money's too embarrassing for your tuition. Click. She didn't call back right away. I think she was in shock. That, oh my God, the ATM just talked back. Kind of shock. But the silence didn't last long. By that evening, my phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree. Ironic, since I wasn't invited to that particular celebration. First came Mom. 5 missed calls. 2 voicemails. 1 long text that started with, "Honey, this is all a misunderstanding," and ended with, "Please don't do this to your sister." Right. Because I was doing something to her. I finally picked up on the 6th try. She launched right in, full tears, full dramatics. You're tearing this family apart over one comment. She didn't mean it that way. Didn't mean it? Mom, I said, calm but sharp. She told you I shouldn't come to Christmas because she didn't want her boyfriend's family knowing her brother is a plumber. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a mission statement. She was trying to impress them. Mom sobbed. She's under a lot of pressure. Oh, so I'm a liability now? She sniffled, pivoted. She looks up to you, Ronan. She does. I laughed. She's so inspired by me that she tried to erase me? Then she dropped the classic. You promised to support your sister through school. Are you going to let one little fight ruin everything? One little fight? I said. Mom, she banned me from Christmas because of my job. The same job that's been bankrolling her degree. What would you have done if I'd called her a shame to the family and cut her out? Silence. Then more tears. When she realized guilt wasn't working, she passed the baton to Dad, who, unlike Mom, skipped the soft approach. You're being selfish. He barked the second I answered. You're ruining your sister's future out of spite. Ah, yes, the parental gaslighting phase. Let me get this straight, I said. She cuts me out of Christmas, trashes my career, hides me from her boyfriend, and I'm the selfish one for not wanting to fund that anymore? We raised you to be better than this. That one almost got me. Almost. You raised me to value family, I said. But apparently that stops when the family decides you're the embarrassment. Then came the real dagger. Sometimes we make sacrifices for the good of the family. That's when I knew it. None of this was about values. Or love. Or respect. It was about optics. They were betting on Connor's family being some kind of golden ticket, internships, connections, prestige. And I was a scratch on their winning lottery ticket. So they cut me out to keep the shine. I didn't shout. I didn't explain further. I just said, you made your choice when you let her erase me. This is me making mine. Then I hung up. But it didn't stop there. Aunt Elise texted to say I was being vindictive. Uncle Brandon emailed me a long-winded sermon about forgiveness. Even Erin, the cousin who originally spilled the truth, messaged me. Maybe you're taking this too far? She's still your sister. But here's the thing. Not one of them offered to pay. Not one said, we'll help cover her tuition if you can't. Everyone had an opinion about my wallet, but no one was offering their own. And that's when I realized the truth. They didn't want me to be a part of the family. They just wanted me to fund it. So I turned off my phone, poured another drink, and sat in the quietest peace I'd felt in years. I figured the storm would blow over in a few days. They'd either come crawling back with some apology-ish nonsense, or they'd go radio silent and hope guilt did the work for them. What I didn't expect was for everything to unravel that fast. According to Erin, my ever-loyal cousin and now official family informant, Melanie told Craig about the tuition money. She left out the whole banning her brother from Christmas part, of course. Instead, she framed it like I was having some kind of emotional breakdown and decided to withhold support out of nowhere. But Craig's not stupid. Once he learned I had paid for nearly her entire education, quietly, without fanfare, he started asking questions. Like, why haven't I met your brother? Why isn't he in any of your family photos? Why doesn't he come to your events? Melanie tried to cover, said we weren't close. Said I lived far away. Said I was busy. But the lie cracked when he asked how she was affording law school without a job. That's when she admitted it. My brother's been paying. And then, the golden follow-up. What does he do? She froze. Eventually, she muttered. He runs a business. Craig asked. What kind of business? And then, reluctantly, like it physically hurt to say it, she whispered. Plumbing. Craig blinked. Then said, like with pipes? That's when it all clicked for him. His uncle, Mike, who built their family's lake house, started as a plumber. Craig used to help him in the summers, dirty boots, sweating under crawl spaces, the whole 9 yards. So when Melanie explained that she had distanced herself from me because she didn't think his family would approve of a plumber sibling. Craig's reaction? He got up. Said, wow. And left. Didn't yell. Didn't argue. Just said he needed space. And for Melanie, space is the one thing she's never known how to handle. She panicked. Started rapid-firing texts to me, from new numbers, burner apps, anything she could get her hands on. Please, Ronan, don't do this. He's everything to me. You're twisting everything out of context. I'll make it right. Just please don't ruin this. But it was too late. Because I hadn't ruined anything. I had simply stepped out of the way and let the truth introduce itself. The next day, Craig officially broke up with her. Erin said it wasn't dramatic, just firm. Cold even. He told her he couldn't be with someone who would disrespect their own family, especially the person who paid for their future, just to impress his. It makes me question your character. He told her. And I don't want to build a life with someone who hides the people who supported them. Melanie, to no one's surprise, didn't take it well. She showed up at our parents' house sobbing. Told them I had ruined her future. Blamed me for the breakup, the tuition, the emotional fallout, everything. My parents, in true form, reached out again, more guilt trips, more pleas to make things right. But here's what none of them got. I hadn't burned a bridge. They had. All I did was light a match and walk away from the ashes. It took about a week before I heard the next warning shot. A simple text from Erin. Warning 9/11, Melanie's heading to your shop. She posted about it on Facebook. She's unhinged. Now, I don't normally take cousin gossip as gospel. But in this family? Erin is 10 for 10. I barely had time to warn my guys before she came barreling through the front door of Ronan's Rapid Repair like a tornado in designer boots. Hair everywhere. Mascara smeared. Sunglasses halfway down her face like she'd sprinted there from a courtroom breakdown scene in a Netflix drama. 3 customers. 5 employees. All were watching as Melanie stormed in like she was auditioning for a soap opera. You ruined my life. She didn't say hi. Didn't ask to talk privately. Just screamed it, full volume, like I just outed her on national television. My staff froze. My regulars leaned back in their chairs like this was a show they hadn't paid for but were definitely staying to watch. I stood up calmly. Melanie. Let's take this outside. She ignored me. Stormed straight to the counter. You're selfish. You're jealous. You're destroying my future over some bruised ego. I tried to steer her toward the door again, still gently, but she planted herself like a protester and launched into Act 2. You don't understand. Craig dumped me. I'm gonna lose school. You're my brother, you're supposed to help me. That's when one of my oldest customers, Mrs. Jean, 74, sweet but savage, stood up slowly. Excuse me, dear, she said, arms crossed. But is this the same brother who paid for your law school? Melanie flinched like she'd been slapped. That's not the point. Oh, but it is, Mrs. Jean said. You've got a lot of nerve, young lady, storming in here like this. From what I'm hearing, you took his money and tried to erase him. Where I come from, that's called biting the hand that feeds you. Melanie turned red. Actually red. Like tomato marinara pressure boiler red. But before she could come back with a snarky rebuttal, Mike, my lead tech, 6'4", soft-spoken, not a fan of drama, stepped forward. Ma'am, he said, I think you should leave now. Melanie blinked. This shop, this plumber business you've been too ashamed to talk about. It paid for my kids' braces. It put food on my table. It kept my house running during COVID. That man right there, he pointed at me, built something you've clearly never understood, dignity. Now, you think she'd take that as a cue to leave? Nope. She tried one more swing. Fine. If you want everyone to know what kind of brother you are, I'll post it. I'll post everything. Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. I smiled. Go ahead, I said. Just be sure to include the part where you uninvited me from Christmas because I'm a plumber, but still expected me to keep paying your bills. Silence. You could hear the HVAC humming. Melanie's eyes darted around, looking for support, for someone to back her up, for a sympathetic face in the room. There were none. So she turned on her heel, knocked over the business card display, slammed the door open like it owed her money, and left. No apology. No second thoughts. Just rage and embarrassment, dragging her out like an unpaid tab. Mrs. Jean patted my arm. You're doing the right thing, sweetheart. Sometimes people have to fall hard before they finally learn to look up. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. Just grounded. Like I had finally stopped asking to be respected, and started requiring it. The meltdown at my shop wasn't the end. No, that was just the opening act of Melanie's one-woman victim tour. Within 24 hours, she was calling everyone in the family. Extended cousins. Distant aunts. People I hadn't seen since I was 12. She spun a new story, one where I was a bitter, spiteful brute who pulled her tuition funding to ruin her life out of jealousy. The group chats lit up. Erin forwarded me screenshots. People who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly had opinions. Aunt Karen, yes, her real name, called to lecture me about family obligations. She's trying to better herself, Ronan. She's going places. And you're dragging her down just because you feel insecure. I blinked. This is the same Aunt Karen who borrowed $5,000 from me 3 years ago for emergency dental work, and never paid it back. So I said, "Funny you bring up financial help. You still owe me $5,000. Any plans to better that situation?" Click. She hung up. Guess her molars weren't the only thing sensitive. Then came Uncle Steve, my dad's brother and self-proclaimed financial guru. You know the type, always talking about his investment portfolio and passive income, but mysteriously broke every time the bill hits the table. He told me I should think of paying Melanie's tuition as an investment. She'll be able to help you later, when she's successful. This is about the long game. I laughed. She can't even admit I exist when she's trying to land internships, Steve. You think she's cutting me in when the checks start rolling? He didn't like that. Pivoted immediately. Well, maybe you could still help her finish this semester. Let her pay you back later. So I offered him a brilliant solution. Why don't you cover it? You're always talking about your returns. Here's your chance to invest in family. He stuttered something about liquidity and reallocating resources, and then, surprise, had to hop off the call. It was hilarious. Everyone had a moral opinion on how I should spend my money. But their wallets? Vaulted shut. Even Aaron, who was team, exposed Melanie, from the jump, texted, "Okay, NGL, it's getting kind of rough. Maybe you've made your point?" I replied. Point wasn't the goal. Boundaries were. She chose to erase me. I just stopped funding the illusion. The silence that followed that message? Chef's kiss. Then came the final act, Melanie's last-ditch effort to recruit Grandma. I heard from Erin that she showed up at Craig's parents' house, uninvited, to plead her case. She left out the "ashamed of my plumber brother" part, of course. But Craig was there. And this time, he told the truth. His dad, a judge, yes, an actual judge, looked her dead in the eye and said, "Young lady, if you're trying to enter the legal profession, you should know, manipulating people with half-truths is not a great start to your career." Savage. After that, Melanie tried to apply for emergency loans. Too late. Processing takes time, and she'd waited too long. Plus, she needed a co-signer, and guess whose credit was shot? Yep. My parents. Too busy chasing appearances to have their finances in order. And not one of the aunts, uncles, or opinionated cousins stepped up to help her either. She finally had to drop out. Erin said she's working as a paralegal now at some firm in a strip mall outside Glenmere. Tells people she's just taking a break. We all know what that means. As for me, business is booming. I hired 2 more techs, picked up another service truck, and finally booked that cabin trip I'd been putting off for years. No guilt. No games. And when my parents called around Thanksgiving, just to check in, I already knew what they were really calling about. The mortgage. They needed help. I told them maybe they should ask their successful lawyer daughter for help. Oh wait. You'd think I'd feel guilty. That maybe, somewhere deep down, I'd wonder if I'd taken it too far. But I didn't. Not once. Because here's what no one ever tells you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who only love what you give them, not who you are. After it all blew up, after the Christmas fallout, the tuition cutoff, the public meltdowns, the extended family guilt parade, I felt free. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. Done pretending that being successful with my hands is something to be ashamed of. Done showing up for people who made me feel like showing up wasn't enough. For years, I thought the price of family was silence. You bite your tongue. You cover the bills. You absorb the slights. All in the name of peace. But that kind of peace? It's fake. It's heavy. It rots your spine from the inside out. Real peace is this. Sitting on my back porch in Glenmere, boots off, a cold beer in hand, watching the sun fall behind the garage I built myself. Knowing I'm not waiting on anyone's approval. Not checking my phone for apologies that never come. I still see Erin sometimes. She gives me the occasional update. Says Melanie's still telling people she took a break from law school to focus on mental clarity. Sure. Craig, surprisingly, still texts me now and then. We've grabbed a few beers. Turns out he's not a bad guy, just another person who got caught in the blast radius of someone trying to curate a perfect life at the cost of real people. As for my parents? They still haven't said sorry. Not directly. They've danced around it. Offered soft invitations. Suggested starting fresh. But you don't patch a hole by painting over it. The last time my mom called, she asked if we could all just put the past behind us. I said, sure, as soon as someone's brave enough to say what really happened. She didn't respond. And that silence? It told me everything. So here I am, not rich, not poor, not flashy. Just steady. Just proud. Just a plumber. And finally, that's enough.